Hi everybody, I'm Hazel, mindful wedding coach, author of Planning a Wedding, the Wedding Planner Way, and creator of the online course Mindful Wedding Planning Foundations course, available on Udemy. And today I thought I would talk to you about having children at weddings. Obviously not giving birth to children at weddings, although that has happened, I'm sure. But do you invite children to your weddings and don't you? There are various schools of thoughts on this. I've been, when I got married, we had, well, I had lots of younger cousins, so we had quite a lot of children at our wedding. And then what we did was, in the evening, the parents and the children went home, and the evening was just for all the adults. But looking back, I don't know why we did that. We might as well have just had everybody for the full day, but I think there was budgetary constraints, which is one of the reasons why you may decide not to have children at your wedding, to save on costs of the food, especially if you're having a kind of silver service type dinner. Sometimes the cost for the child's meal can be almost the same as for the adult. So you may decide not to have children for that reason. I've got notes, so I will occasionally be looking this way. So another reason why you might not want children at your weddings is you think they're going to be noisy, you think they might run into the wedding cake, they might be crying during the speeches. So there might be these reasons as to why you don't want children at weddings. But you would think that parents with young children and the child is crying would take the child out. And there are ways to get round that. So if you don't want children disrupting your speeches, you can always hire a children's entertainer to take the children away and entertain them during the speeches. So that's happened at a couple of weddings I've been to, which is very useful. What else? So yeah, I mean, it is a personal choice as to whether you have children or not at your weddings, and it can sometimes go both ways actually. So I mean, I've been on the recipient end of having a young baby, and then our child wasn't invited to a wedding, and we found that quite difficult because our baby was only like 4 months old, so we obviously had to turn down the invitation because there's no way we could have left him to go to the wedding. But then as they got older, the children have been invited to weddings, and we've left them with the grandparents because it was nice to actually go to a wedding and have a weekend just to enjoy ourselves and spend it with our friends without worrying about what the children were up to. So it can go both ways, and the key to knowing whether someone's going to be happy or not with you inviting or not inviting their children is to communicate, which is one of the key things when planning a wedding. And I've done a whole video on communication, but just talk to people. You know, so if you're not having children at your wedding, before you send the invite out, just give them a call or drop them a message and say, look, this is the plan, how you know, I don't want to upset you, but this is what we're doing. It's just nice just to let people know before you send the invitations out, and also do make it clear on the invitations, because some people, if they've got a baby, might find it ambiguous and might still bring the baby anyway, because they've not realised that the baby wasn't invited. So yeah, communicate and make it clear. So you know, there will always be somebody who gets offended about it, or who can't make it for that particular reason, and you just have to accept that, and you know, don't let it ruin your friendship, because you know, it is difficult when someone's got a young baby. So yeah, they might not be able to get a babysitter, so they might not be able to come. So I mean, it's a personal choice, because I'm, you know, it's my video, so I'm going to talk personally. I do love seeing children at weddings. They, you know, they're fun, and weddings are family occasions. But I can understand if you're, you know, you and all your group of friends just don't have children, then yeah, you want to it might not occur to you to think, oh, you know, we need to have children at the weddings. So, I mean, there are ways of handling the situation. So, as I said, communication is key. And also, you've got to think about how it would work if you're allowing some children and not other children. So, for example, your sister's chief bridesmaid, and they've got a young child who's going to be the flower girl, then there's the child at the wedding. So think about how that might affect some of your friends or relatives who you've said no children at weddings, yet you've got flower girls, page boys, and some children there. So maybe you need to think about, you know, maybe letting these people know that actually it's kind of a tricky one, isn't it, really? Because you're saying, I can have children at my wedding, but just not your child. That's how it can come across. And I am putting it bluntly, but that is how it would be perceived. So you either need a blanket, no children, or invite all the children, or, you know, communicate and see who would be upset if children were invited, who wouldn't be, and maybe come to some sort of compromise as to how many children you can invite. Because you'll probably find that some parents with children who are a little bit older would be happy to leave the children with babysitter or the grandparents so that they can have a weekend to themselves or a day at a wedding without worrying about the children. So maybe you can find out who, you know, who can't find a babysitter and who can, and have a few children who are maybe a bit older. But yeah, be clear about what you've decided and communicate. I've mentioned that. I mean, I've got here, be honest, but don't over-explain your reasons. But I do think you should explain, but don't try and dig yourself into a hole by over-explaining. Yes, as I mentioned here, be aware that some guests who couldn't bring children may be unhappy when they arrive to see that there are some children there, because some people are allowed to bring children. So you've got to find a way around that if you're having some children or all children. And if you are having children, you need to let them know that the duty of care is with the parents. So if, you know, they're bringing their children, you know, they've got to be under their parents' control. So, you know, especially if you're not having a children's entertainer to take them all off for an hour, you know, it's up to the parents to make sure that the child's not running around knocking into the wedding cake, not screaming and shouting during the speeches, and maybe you've brought some sort of entertainment for your own children, so they're not getting bored and terrorising the other guests. And what else have we got? Thinking about children. So yeah, so whatever decision you make that decision early, plan accordingly, communicate your decisions clearly and with love, obviously. You're not telling your friends or your relatives you don't like their children, you're just explaining this is how it is. But yes, be open and communicate at all times, because it's a sensitive subject whether you invite somebody's children or not. But if you are having children at your wedding, there's plenty of things that you can do to keep them entertained. You can give them special catering, so if you're worried that they're not going to eat the fine dining experience that you've got planned, you can always do them something that you know they will eat. So, you know, the basics: sausages, chips. What else do kids eat? I've got 3 of them. Pasta. Keep it simple. Do the children food that the children will eat. Obviously, if they're older children, like over 10 or 11, they'll probably want to eat the same as their parents. But the parents will let you know if they've got fussy eaters as children. They've got children as fussy eaters. not sure which way around that's meant to go. And yeah, just work with the parents and find out what the kids will actually eat. I know it's a kind of, you know, they should eat what's put in front of them, but you don't really want starving children at your wedding, so do cater accordingly. You can set up activity tables for them, you can create their own wedding packs of colouring books or things that are age appropriate. There's lots of ideas on Etsy and Pinterest and companies where you can get like boxes of activities and things that are aimed for gender and age, which are really good and not too reasonably priced, or they are reasonably priced. My brain's not working today. Let's say, yeah, groups, you could, soft play equipment's really good. So if you've got lots of little ones, you can set up an activity area where they can all run around and charge about. So you can hire all this, bouncy castles you can hire, giant games. There's lots of activities to keep them busy and let them burn off some energy somewhere. I said groups of children together can be loud, so maybe you want a separate area for them. So maybe during the speeches, yeah, guide the children off and they can just run around and play somewhere safely. Maybe you've got a little room that you can set some stuff up in for them to do. You know, if you think you've got some kind of teenagers there who are going to be bored, maybe, not that I'm saying you can set the Xbox up, but maybe you could do some sort of games area or somewhere where they can sit and do something, because weddings aren't for everybody. Yeah, individual activities, books, stuff to keep them occupied. As I say, other entertainment, outdoor entertainment, bouncy castles, which I've mentioned. Yeah, magicians. So itchy, if you're having a magician for your wedding day who's going to go around the tables doing close-up magic, and they've often got a routine for children as well. So maybe during the speeches they could go put on a show for the kids, and then come back and do the kind of up-close magic and personal stuff that they would do for a more grown-up setting. And yeah, I think that's it for children at weddings. So I hope I've not been too waffly, which I probably have. So if you're interested in the sort of things that I do, if you want to know more about mindful weddings, you can join my Facebook group, Mindful Wedding Community. You can find me on Facebook, Mindful Wedding Courses, or Love to Marry. I'm on Instagram as mindful_weddings. Website, I will put all the details in a link so you can see them all, and I'm offering one-to-one mindful wedding coaching. If that's something that interests you, do let me know, drop me a message. And my course is available on Udemy, do check it out. And that's it for now, and I will see you all on another wedding video. Okay, bye for now.